So one of the communities that I got to play in this year is Harvest Fest up in upstate New York. Mikio brought me in, and I had the pleasure of meeting Flynn there, and they have a whole dance relationship with the Jedi Force that they're bringing in to their lives and to sharing in our lives now. And Flynn and Damon are here to talk about how the Jedi Force, how that has an influence in Alex Gray's work, and how Alex his work has an influence within their program. So I'm going to turn the microphone over. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Damon Honeycutt, and I'm one of the members of NY Jedi. I'm also the founder of TempleoftheMonkey.org, grassroots martial arts sangha. This is my friend Flynn, and he'll introduce himself.
Hi, Flynn. You want more? I got lucky enough to be the founder of nyjedi.com, and what it was basically modeled for was lightsaber stage combat. Because I grew up in several different spiritual schools, and Star Wars has always been kind of a pinnacle influence. And obviously with artists like Alex Gray and others in the world talking about energy and life and how it all integrates into everything that we see, perceive, feel, etc. My own history, I studied with two enlightened masters. One was Rama, Dr. Frederick Lenz, who died back in 1998. And then after that, I studied with Adidas Samraj, who, if some of you had seen the painting that Alex has made in his wonderful image, actually very interesting. I've been able to take my passion for meditation and mental training and kind of use this kind of Jedi theme where people can come in, they come into the class and, hey, how you doing? What do you want to learn? I want to learn how to be a Jedi. So you're like, okay, do you know how to meditate? And they're like, what's that? You get to kind of, meditation's what the Jedi do. Remember when Qui-Gon Jinn, the first episode, if you want to call it that, he sat down just like that painting while he was battling Darth Maul, the evil red-faced, and he centered himself. He reconnected with the environment around him. Of course, you could argue he did a lot of good, he just got killed. But the fact of the matter is, people have luminous beings over there. Why don't you give them some of your background and the history of your education?
Okay. I went to college for arts, and I got my master's in conscious evolution and integral studies. And that was an offshoot of the Integral Institute from Colorado by Ken Wilber, Professor X. That's what I call him. Anyways, yeah, right, man? Yeah. And so then I just kind of worked as a performing artist and that kind of thing. And I met Flynn on this wacky film shoot up in the woods and kind of hit it off. And ever since then, I've been working a lot with dance companies around the world, everything from 90 to Pilobolus, and flipping around, and that kind of thing. And so the main point of that is having all that kind of experience being a performer and being a martial artist, where I used to compete and smack people down and all that kind of stuff. And you have to kind of transcend that, or you really kind of go nowhere.
We've been able to create a very interesting club where people who are interested in learning stage combat and learn how to wield a lightsaber, get together and learn from traditional-based martial artists like Damon and myself, and along with other meditation practices that we also integrate. We're not really trying to create like a Jedi temple, so to speak, because there is a Jedi religion out there. People have, registered, they've been voting saying, what's your religion? Oh, Jedi.
Especially in the UK, it's really popular there. Yeah. And so, one of the things that really brings us here is when you think of aspects of the Force, which, a lot of people talk about soul force and energy and chi and prana, kundalini and all the rest of it. But you really have to look no further than that wall. If you look at that wall, that explains it all pretty visually. So, our personal take on it, and my personal take on it, being a martial arts teacher and being, brought in by Flynn to teach the students and/or be part of the organization as a whole, and you reach a group of people that normally wouldn't be exposed to type of esoteric teachings and/or esoteric thoughts in general. And you get to apply those in a stage combat setting and/or a fantastical hero building setting, where we can personify that which we wish to become. And so when we do that, we grow and kind of make ourselves better, thus become attuned to the energies which you see around you on the wall. Flynn introduced me to the lightsaber, and that kind of added a new meaning to swordplay. Because really, if you think about swordplay, it's really an intention of putting, it's an extension of your body, an extension of your intention. And so therefore, when you're using it in whatever kind of subtle manner it is, you become the sword rather than, and you get out of the way of it rather than like, I'm going to hack something like barbarian, It's kind of nice that way. So through thought and action and sound, form arises. And Flynn gave me a possibility to bring that to a group that I never thought possible before. And from that, a lot of people have really, gained in confidence and understood things on a grander scale. And we've made a really solid community of people.
It's interesting. It's like, have you ever heard the saying, the clothes make the man or the woman? It's amazing to see what happens when somebody creates a hero, a character that they then get to personify. They put on the costume, and that's an element of our club. You create the costume, you create the backstory, you create the hero, you build it. But it's coming from somewhere, it's coming from inside of you. Otherwise you wouldn't really know what you're talking about. It's like when you're taking writer's class, they tell you, write what you know. But it gives them something to connect to. It's a common thread, it's a common ideal that people can really identify with. It might be science fiction, but don't forget, George Lucas also pulled these traditional methods from what we all know, what our ancestors have been through. And he put it into a popular science fiction wrapper that we all can really identify. So the club, I tell you, I was really shocked with what happened. We opened the gambit. You don't have to be a Star Wars character. You can do whatever you want. Like my character's a predator. We have a Ringwraith from The Lord of the Rings. We have a Riddick, a Fury, a Fremen from the books Dune. She's even got blue contacts and a crysknife saber.
She's my student.
It's funny, like we get like 20, 30 people in our class, and like Damon has founded the Monkey Kung Fu School, and he's got like 8 to 10, maybe 12 people per class.
16 now.
16. Yeah. But it's amazing how many people, it's less exclusive. Like, you walk into a Kung Fu school, you're going to learn Kung Fu.
Yeah, can I say something about that? Yeah, and I mean, that's what's really great about it, is because people get really intimidated by traditional martial arts in the sense that like, oh my god, there's a sensei or the Sifu or whatever, and and they think, oh, I'm going to have to break bricks with my head or some crap. And it's just like, that really doesn't need to happen. And by like taking what I know and applying it to the Jedi, it gives them a sense of confidence and ability. And I actually have gotten really great students for the Kung Fu school out of it. And they actually know what they're doing on a physical level. But on that, it makes them, with the hero, it's like you said, the thread, right? And like that, you have the whole George Lucas, Joseph Campbell bit going on, the thread of the hero's path and all that kind of thing. And
do you have any hobbits?
Not yet, man.
Not yet.
What if you come by? Come by, here be a hobbit, dude. That's funny. Pretty cool. So, let's see, I was trying to make
The lightsaber glows when trolls are around.
Yeah, lightsaber glows with Sting! And so you can already tell that like Flynn and I are already total geeks and nerds. And the thing is what makes NY Jedi great and things like Star Wars great and everything, even as cheesy as Conan the Barbarian, is that like you get it takes the whole, well, with Star Wars in general and what we do in general, it takes the whole balance of that of a wisdom tradition and pits it against contemporary technology.
Positive versus negative, good versus evil.
Right, so you're like, oh, just doing your thing, right? Then you're like, boop, boop, R4. Cell phone, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. Like, if samurai were walking around today, it'd be great. Like, oh, I gotta be a new Edo in a little bit, go up there and meet Kojiro or whatever. So in the mass culture, it gives an introduction to wisdom traditions in a contemporary setting. Thus, when they look at the artwork here, or they talk to anyone who is edified or indoctrinated within wisdom traditions, they no longer feel so separate, if that makes sense.
If you look at the paintings around, I especially wanted to point out how the Force-sensitive characters that are in Star Wars, be it Sith or Jedi, good, evil, think about Yoda saying, feel the Force around you. It surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds us. Look at that painting.
I got that one in my kitchen. actually.
You know, science has now discovered that as far small as you go, there's nothing but vibrating energy. That's vibrating a little bit smaller, or a little bit slower than the air.
Can I say something on that too? Also, if you know the works of Ervin Laszlo, you can take it and like, think about the psi field, that which is, you put intention upon it, and thus reactions or responses, universally happen. And if you look at this, I forget the name of this because I
Theolog.
Theolog. So if you just look at the psi field around that individual and the chakra system and meridian system and the vein system and everything, the fire underneath, all of that, the relationship of prana, chi, and kundalini all put into a triquum of thought and form. Thus, there's no difference. The force is just general, like, hatha, the yoga of force, right? Something to kind of think about. Yeah.
Several of the teachers that I studied with, as I pointed out, Rama, had talked about the chakra system and raising your kundalini energy and your prana and using it to increase your awareness. The principal reason why I was so adamant about teaching meditation with the Jedi class is because it is stage combat. It's kind of like we've been able to trick people into learning a little bit more advanced techniques that they normally wouldn't be exposed to, as you said.
Or wouldn't believe that they could ever do.
Right. The Force, while we're not really a Jedi temple, we play with these things. It's really a flashlight.
These are fun in the roof at night.
Oh yeah. So
yeah, tell them it's made out of polycarbonate.
Polycarbonate, which is the same thing that CD's made out of, and you know how hard it is to break a CD.
I have a mohawk.
You bend it in half. But we've got a couple of our guys who got stitches.
Yeah. Because these we made. They're not like those toys you get. You know what I'm saying? These are real, man. Count with me. Yeah. You know? So we use these. So we don't worry. So
we got a weird.
We can really go to town with these. So like if you, and we do, and it's like granted, if you have, the whole point about that and that whole meditation about it is you have to be intended when you're doing that kind of stage combat. Otherwise you're gonna whack people in the head. It's no good. It's just no good. And you have to have control, and by Flynn teaching those meditations, it's kind of like we are, like I'm the right-hand path, and he's the left-hand path. Do you know what I mean? So he gets them all, exactly. He gets them all like, okay, I'm all focused, I know what I'm doing, and I'm like, now let's pick up these. And now when you put the intention through, you can move, you are connected with the person. You know that distance. Those things are important when dealing with this, as they're important with meditation. Getting distance from things, maybe witnessing things, maybe involving yourself fully. Subtle things for a geeky sci-fi club, but however they get ingrained. And NY Jedi is really a subculture, if you really think about it. And you can implant things in the subculture. That's how I'm starting to take over the world.
I don't want to take over the world, too much over here. There is a definite subculture. We now have LA Jedi, PA Jedi, DC Jedi is about to come up, Ohio Jedi, Chicago. These clubs are opening up all around the country. They've been inspired by what we've done. Personally, it's extremely humbling for me because, as I stood here, I think it was either a full moon or a new moon ceremony a while ago, I talked about how I was able to create this lightsaber group, and I want to bring as much light and happiness to people as I possibly can.
Can I say something to you? We talked about the psi field and all of this over here with the prana and the chakra system over here, but you got to look at that one over there. I don't know the name of that one, but those. What's One. Yeah, you got to be one with that, or you hurt people. Do you see what I mean? So it's like that intention, the meeting of Ajna Chakra or the third eye or whatever, they're meeting together, looking at each other. The multi-perspectival one that's there with skulls and life, Huh? Bardo being, yeah. Well, if you think about it being multiple-headed, it could be like Brahma, like in the sense of quantum time, facing death on multiple directions. This, you can just go through transformation, that's pretty obvious. That one over there is like...
so obvious, right?
Yeah, like that one. Yeah, it's like, growing up and being into all these science fiction, I think he even has an Enterprise on one of his paintings, doesn't he? There's a little Enterprise over there, right?
Oh, the Cosmic Christ.
Yeah, man, Cosmic Christ.
The one on the far...
Yeah, you should do some, that's, Obi-Wan's beard. We need to finish up here. But my point is growing up, us being from a young age, falling into different wisdom traditions, being inspired by fantastical things, and also by integral artists such as Alex Gray. It's
Huge fans.
yeah, and like looking at it and like, so I'm 17, I get I'm like, what the, wow. So you just sit and look at it, you know, like a mandala or something, and then things become apparent through visualization and action by sitting. And the whole journey that exists in the other room through the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, if you think about it, it really inspires one to bring yourself to a unity which the Jedi would call the Force, or you can call it whatever you want. But what we call that, it brings a unification that is sometimes beyond one's comprehension.
The source?
The source.
The source? Sure. Once you name it, it's already gone.
Oh.
See, we get pretty esoteric.
Yeah, it'd be fun not adding, especially over a couple beers.
But we definitely want to finish up, and again, it's been an extreme honor,
Yeah, it's
especially
definitely been an honor.
stand in front of you guys and talk about this really geeky shit, because we get radio stations making fun of it. Hey, you guys see the geeks living their lightsabers around like that, and then next thing you know, the web hits a psycho through the roof. So, if I might just open up for just like 1 or 2, 3 questions, if you'd like, please, before we finish up.
Yeah. Don't be shy.
Demonstration.
Not
Not from there.
You told us that you're not really swinging those things, are you?
You know,
Duet. A duet.
like
A
sing.
duet?
Yes, please.
Hold a low tone.
Didn't expect that one.
Yes.
I just want to thank you and commend you for making apparent these subtle truths that are so ingrained in human consciousness that they make it even into the media, and have been doing so for many decades, and we see it happening more and more with movies like The Fountain and The Matrix, the heroes inside of you. Thank you for teaching people that who would normally overlook it and get lost in another delusion.
Cool, man. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Ronald.
That's precisely the honor that we get.
On the internet, the scientific term for the force, it's called the quantum foam, also the Higgs field. And that's what cosmologists and physicists, particle physicists have discovered is the force.
I like hard science fiction. Anybody know what that means?
Yes.
Hard science? They base their fictional stories based on real science.
Right.
Kind of like Dan Brown when it
Or
created
Asimov. Is
Da
Asimov?
Vinci Code.
Asimov.
Asimov.
Awesome.
You know.
Yeah, he said it's a great quote, Asimov. The universe isn't bigger than you can imagine, it's bigger than you can't imagine. You had a question, Miss.
How do we play too?
You just come on down, man. NYJedi.com. It's all on there. Our classes shift around a little bit. So, but you can do that, or come and talk to us. You know, we can give you some classes, class info, and stuff like that. Any other questions? Yes.
Interesting enough, just as a full circle thing, one of the reasons why I'm in this room is because I met Alex and Allison in the community called the Center for Symbolic Studies, which is my core community. They come from in upstate New York, which was founded by 2 out of 3 of Joseph Campbell's doctorate students. And the first place, and at the time, my first time, I hadn't really thought of, Star Wars outside the sci-fi realm. But I was also doing a lot of work. I did album covers for the Grateful Dead. And coming from these 2 worlds, I all of a sudden started seeing my checks for the Grateful Dead coming from Skywalker Ranch. And also Joseph Campbell and the people from our crew hanging out there. And Joe was quite serious about this concept of the archetypes. And basically his perspective was that we're moving so fast, faster and faster. So in our culture, and traditions fall apart. By the time you concretize it, you make it into a doctrine or a tradition, it's already crumbled, it's already moved on. But the forms that illuminate it, the archetypes, if you will, are eternal. But the fact is they're moving so fast and they're occupying other forms at an increasingly rapid rate. So Joe's perspective was that the only priests and priestesses that actually function in our current time were artists. And hence the gallery you see around you. And that was his perspective on Star Wars.
Like creative mythology kind of thing, right? No. Huh? Yeah, there you go.
Art imitates life, imitates art. Right? So the inspiration comes from somewhere. The stage combat stuff that we do, we tell stories. So it's very helpful for you to understand when somebody feels pain, how do you convey that? When you feel joy,
I mean,
We all understand these,
When he
right?
gets shocked by force lightning. Hey, you had a question, sir?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your perspective on just the various really negative violence that's going on in the world, because your discipline it's fighting physical confrontation, but it's also an art and a spiritual discipline. So how do you view?
Are you talking about me specifically as a martial arts teacher?
As martial artists, yeah.
Well, I kind of have
Like
Urjana's approach to it.
Say, or just random violence that is not beautiful at all. Like what is the main difference to you between what you do and what
The main difference, quite honestly, is efficiency. I can do it faster and better, but I don't.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Urjana, does everyone know the Bhagavad Gita?
Mhm.
Or, okay, great. Throws down his bow, Krishna advises him, but he kills his family anyways, right? Something to think about. Once for me, I had to go through a transcendent of really accepting the violence in my heart before I could transcend it.
it's party.
Yeah, and when it comes to that, my responsibility is not to morph the world into a peaceful place, but those who I come in contact with myself, I can evolve to a more peaceful consciousness.
You can only really be an example of what you believe. I mean, it's impossible to change the world, or is it? You know, if we all agree on one thing, then we decide that this color is going to be blue, this color is going to be red. It's all up to us. If we agree on one common thing, there will be peace. We haven't decided we want peace yet. And as far as there being negativity in the world is exactly perfect. It's exactly the way it should be. This is what my teacher Rama had pointed out. But it's perfect exactly where it is. But where we choose it to go is entirely our free will. That is our power. That's truly what that is.
What would you finish up to?
Okay, I'm sorry, but one thing, like, who calls the volcano wrong just because it kills Pompeii? You know, who calls the hurricane wrong just because it slays people? It's not the weather's fault, yet it is inherently violent.
Katrina?
So, yeah, so it's like once I realized my relationship with nature in that violence, I could go beyond it.
But I gotta call that down to the table because that's a natural force of the earth. Whereas what I was hearing this brother's question be was about violent minds that war power over, and that's a completely different thing.
We're also in
so.
the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, and the principle behind Sacred Mirrors is we're a mirror that chooses what to reflect. The volcano is a volcano.
Right.
You are a mirror. What's in that mirror, you've turned it towards that.
The volcano.
There you go.
One more question.
I see the violence in people is the same as the violence in a volcano in that it's just the nature of the energy being what it is. We name it violence, we give it a negative connotation, but it doesn't change the fact that it really isn't any different coming from you or coming from a volcano or coming from a hurricane. It's all of the same energy, it's all of the... What am I trying to...
I might understand where you're going with this. It's like our choice, where we decide to put that violence, because killing isn't bad, it just is. I mean, Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita.
Who knows about Musashi? Miyamoto Musashi was a guy who fought in, you can look him up on the net, research. Anyways, Miyamoto Musashi, he said killing was not the way of mankind. He was a ronin, a wandering samurai. And by going through many duels and slaying many people in battle, he realized that. He didn't have a teacher, he taught himself that through experience. When you own it in yourself, you can go beyond it. When it is denied, it doesn't matter how it is reflected.
Right. Gotcha.
So thank you very much.
I hope sometime we can come back and flip around next time. So, we'll see you around.